My child, my beloved, what I am about to say to you is not something that was written for the masses. This was not prepared for a crowd. This was not sent to a nation or a generation or a movement. This was sent to you and only to you, and the fact that your eyes are moving across these words right now is not a coincidence. It is not an accident. It is not random. Heaven does not operate in randomness. Heaven operates in precision. And you, my beloved, have been precisely located, precisely found, precisely called to this very moment. There is something happening around you right now that your natural eyes cannot see. If you could pull back the veil, even for a second, and look into the realm where destinies are decided, where names are spoken over futures that haven't arrived yet, where angels stand at attention waiting for instructions, you would see something that would take your breath away. You would see your name glowing, not faintly, not quietly in the corner, but burning with a light so intense that those who stand nearest to it have to shield their eyes. Your name is not forgotten in heaven. Your name is not buried under a pile of other names. Your name is active. Your name is alive. And right now, in this very moment, something is being moved because of it. But I need you to understand something before we go any further. Before I show you what has been prepared, before I reveal what has been held back and why, before I tell you the truth about what is actually happening in the unseen world around your life, I need you to make a decision. Not a decision made out of fear. Not a decision made under pressure, but a decision made from the deepest, most honest place within your soul. I need you to decide right now whether you are willing to receive what God has already approved for you. Because that is where so many people lose what was already theirs, not because heaven stopped moving, not because the blessing disappeared, but because the person it was meant for closed their heart before it could land. Do not be that person today. You have come too far. You have endured too much. You have waded through too many seasons of silence and confusion, and delayed answers for you to close yourself off right now when everything is finally moving in your direction. I am Archangel Michael, and I was not sent here to frighten you. I was sent here because you were chosen, and because the moment has arrived, and because someone needed to tell you the truth before the window closed. Let me tell you what I saw. I was standing at the edge of a heavenly corridor, a place where records are kept, and names are reviewed, where the files of those who have been faithful are opened and examined, where God Himself looks at the journey of a soul and determines whether the season of holding has finally come to an end. And when your file was opened, I watched something happen that I have not seen in a very long time. The room grew quiet, not because something was wrong, but because what was written beside your name was so significant, so weighty, so full of divine intention that even those who had been present in that room for thousands of years paused to look. What was written there was not just a blessing. It was a correction. It was heaven's answer to every injustice you have experienced. It was God's response to every tear that fell when no one was watching, to every prayer you whispered into the dark when you were too tired to speak out loud, to every moment you chose to keep going when every logical reason told you to stop. What was written beside your name was a divine declaration, and that declaration said that the season of lack, the season of delay, the season of being overlooked and undervalued and passed over was finished. Done. Sealed as complete. And what comes next was something else entirely. But here is where I must be honest with you, because honesty is what love requires. This declaration does not automatically become your reality simply because it exists in the heavenly record. You must receive it. You must open yourself to it. You must walk toward it with intention and with faith, because heaven releases to those who are positioned to receive. And positioning is not about perfection. It is not about having everything figured out. It is not about being completely healed or completely free from doubt. Positioning is about willingness. It is about saying, even with shaking hands and a tired heart, yes, I am here, I receive this. I will not walk away from what was written for me. Can you say that today? Can you say it even if your voice trembles? Can you say it even if part of you is afraid to hope again, because hoping has hurt before? Because I want you to know something that is very important. The pain of past hope does not disqualify you from future breakthrough. Every scar you carry is evidence that you survived something that was meant to break you. And surviving it, enduring it, pressing through it, that is exactly what qualified you for what is coming next. You were not chosen because your life has been easy. You were chosen because even when it was impossibly hard, you did not completely let go. There is a man I must tell you about. He was wealthy in ways that most people will never experience. His name was known in rooms that most people never enter. His resources were vast, his influence was wide, and by every measurement the world uses to evaluate a life, he had succeeded beyond what anyone could have reasonably expected. But in his final days, as the doctors around him grew quieter, and the conversations in the hallway outside his room became more careful and more weighted with what no one wanted to say out loud, this man was not thinking about his accounts. He was not reviewing his assets. He was not trying to arrange one more deal or secure one more contract. He was thinking about a name that had come to him years ago in a dream so vivid, so undeniably real, that he had written it down when he woke up and kept the paper in a place where he would see it often. He did not know the person. He did not understand why the name had come to him. But he had made a promise to God in his youth, a promise that if God ever showed him someone who truly carried something sacred, something anointed, something rare, he would not let that person be left without what they needed. He had searched quietly over the years. He had watched and waited and never found who the dream was pointing to, until the end, until the final days when the veil between what is seen and what is unseen grows thin for those who are about to cross over. In those final days, he saw clearly. He saw your face. He saw the weight you carry. He saw the prayers you have spoken. He saw the faithfulness that no one around you has fully acknowledged. And with the last real strength he had, he spoke your name, not to a lawyer, not to a family member, not to anyone who was standing in that room trying to figure out what was happening. He spoke it to God. He said, that is the one I saw. Release what was promised to them. Do not let them wait any longer. And heaven heard it. And a transaction was approved. And what was held in waiting, what was stored and protected and kept safe until the right moment was released. But it must be received. And you, right now, reading these words, you are the only one who can receive it, not someone else. Not the people around you who have been quietly watching your life and wondering when your turn would come. Not the ones who have smiled at you while secretly hoping you would stay stuck. You. Only you can open your hands and receive what this man activated with his final breath. I want you to think about something for a moment. Think about all the times in your life when something good seemed close, almost within reach, and then slipped away. Think about the opportunities that appeared and then disappeared. Think about the relationships that promised much and delivered little. Think about the doors that seemed to open and then quietly closed before you could walk through them. And now I want you to consider the possibility that none of that was because you were not good enough or not worthy enough or not ready enough. What if the reason those things did not stay was because they were not the right things? What if every closed door was heaven's way of saying, not this one, because the one I have prepared for you is better than anything you have tried to hold on to so far? What you are walking toward is not a consolation prize. It is not the backup plan. It is not what is left over after everyone else has taken their portion. What is moving toward you right now has your name on it in a way that nothing else does. It was designed with your specific pain in mind. It was shaped around your specific journey. It accounts for the years you lost. It accounts for the things that were taken from you. It is not just a blessing. It is a restoration. And restoration, real restoration, never gives you back exactly what was lost. It gives you back more. Because God does not simply replace what was stolen. God multiplies what was taken and returns it with interest that could only be calculated by heaven. But I must speak to you honestly about something that is very important, something that could determine whether what is moving toward you actually reaches you, or whether it arrives and finds no one home. There are people in your life right now who do not want you to rise. I am not telling you this to make you afraid, or angry, or suspicious of everyone around you. I am telling you this because you already sense it, and part of you has been afraid to trust that sense because these people are close to you. Some of them are very close. Some of them are people whose presence in your life has felt essential, people without whom you could not imagine certain parts of your daily existence. But I need you to hear this truth with the part of you that is deepest and most honest. Closeness is not the same as loyalty. Familiarity is not the same as love. Someone can be near you every day and still be quietly working against the fullness of your destiny. Not necessarily with evil intention, though in some cases that is exactly what it is. But sometimes simply because your rising makes them uncomfortable. Because your breakthrough would expose the limitations they have made peace with in their own lives. Because your success would require them to either grow or to accept that they have been choosing smallness. And that is something they are not yet willing to do. You have been generous with people who have not deserved your generosity. You have given time and energy and resources to people who were quietly hoping that your season would never fully come. You have extended grace to those who were never offering you the same grace in return, and heaven has watched this. Every instance of it has been recorded. Every moment where you gave what cost you something to someone who would not have done the same for you, heaven saw it and wrote it down. And what is coming to you now accounts for all of it. Every seed you planted in difficult soil. Every act of faithfulness that went unacknowledged. Every time you chose to love when bitterness would have been understandable. The harvest from all of that is enormous, but you must be willing to receive it without guilt, because that is where some people stumble. They feel guilty about rising when others around them are still struggling. They feel guilty about receiving more when those close to them have less, and so they unconsciously sabotage what is coming. They push away the blessing because they do not feel they deserve to have more than the people they love. But my beloved, your blessing is not taken from someone else. Your rising does not require anyone else to fall. Heaven is not a zero-sum system. What God releases for you does not diminish what He has available for others. Your willingness to receive opens a door, not just for yourself, but for everyone connected to you who is genuine. So release the guilt, release the hesitation. Release the idea that wanting more for your life is somehow selfish or faithless or greedy. You were not created to survive on just enough. You were not designed to spend your entire life in the waiting room of what could have been. You were made for more. And more is exactly what is moving toward you right now if you will simply refuse to step out of its path. I want to tell you something about the battles you have faced. Not the small daily frustrations, but the deep ones. The ones that have left marks. The ones you carry quietly because you are not sure anyone would understand the full weight of them. Those battles were not random. They were not the result of bad luck or a cursed bloodline or timing that simply was not in your favor. Those battles were targeted. Because what is inside of you, the gift, the calling, the specific assignment that has been written over your life since before you were born, that thing is powerful enough that the forces opposed to your destiny recognized it long before you fully did. You do not fight for territory that has no value, and the level of opposition you have faced is actually a testament to the level of what you carry. The enemy does not waste resources attacking empty vessels. The depth of the warfare against your life is a direct reflection of the depth of what God placed inside of you, and knowing that should shift the way you see every hard thing you have endured. You were not being punished. You were being proven. And you have proven, through every season of pressing and enduring and not giving up completely even when you were hanging on by the thinnest thread, you have proven that what was placed in you can survive anything. And now it is time for it to do more than survive. It is time for it to flourish. There is a realm in the spirit, a place where your future already exists, where what has been prepared for you is fully formed and waiting, where the life that was intended for you from the beginning stands complete and ready. And the distance between where you are right now and where that life exists is not as vast as it has seemed. It is not years away. It is not around a corner you cannot yet see. It is right here, just beyond the next decision, just past the threshold of this moment. And the decision that determines whether you cross into it or step back into another season of waiting is the decision you are making right now. To stay, to believe, to receive. To say yes with your whole heart and not just with the surface part of you that is easy to convince. Because the surface of you can agree with anything. The surface of you can nod along and say the right words and move through the motions of faith. But heaven is looking deeper than the surface. Heaven is looking at the part of you that is underneath all the performing, underneath all the coping, underneath all the ways you have learned to manage disappointment. Heaven is looking at the real you. The you that still, underneath everything, believes that something is possible. The you that still, after everything you have been through, has not fully extinguished the flame of hope. And I am here to tell you that flame is enough. What you have left is enough. Because it is real, and real faith, even when it is small, even when it is tired, even when it has been battered by circumstance. Real faith moves heaven. Let me speak to you about money for a moment, because this is an area where many of you have experienced deep confusion and deep pain. You have watched people who seem less faithful, less principled, less committed to what is right, walk in financial abundance while you have struggled. You have worked hard, sometimes harder than anyone around you, and still found yourself stretched thin, still found yourself making calculations that should not be necessary, still found yourself wondering why the effort does not seem to translate into the stability you know you should have. And part of you has wondered, privately, in the quiet spaces you do not share with others, whether God truly sees the financial dimension of your life, whether the promise of provision actually applies to you specifically, whether there is something about your situation that makes abundance less accessible than it seems to be for others. I want to speak to that wondering now, not to dismiss it, because your wondering comes from a real place of real pain, but to answer it with truth. God sees the financial dimension of your life completely, every number in every account, every bill that felt overwhelming, every time you chose to give when it cost you something real, every moment of financial faithfulness that went unrecognized by everyone around you, but was absolutely seen and recorded by heaven. Every sacrifice you made for your family or for your future or for someone else who needed help, even when you were not sure how you would cover your own needs. Every instance of that kind of faithfulness is currency in the heavenly economy. And the account that has been building in your name in that economy is not small. What is about to be released into your natural circumstances is connected to what has been accumulating in the supernatural record of your life. The harvest time has come. The accounts are being balanced. And what is coming is not just enough to cover what is current. What is coming is designed to reset the entire financial trajectory of your life. Not just a one-time infusion that solves an immediate problem and then disappears, but a repositioning. A shift in the very architecture of your financial life that creates a new normal. One where scarcity is not the default, where provision is not an emergency response but a steady reality, where what you have been given is enough not just for yourself, but to become a source of help and strength for others. But here is what I need you to understand about how that comes. It does not usually arrive in the dramatic way that is easy to recognize and impossible to miss. It comes through doors that open unexpectedly. through conversations that turn in directions no one planned, through ideas that surface in quiet moments and carry a weight that tells you they are more than just thoughts, through connections that form in ways that do not make logical sense, but that carry the signature of divine orchestration, through opportunities that appear without explanation, and that fits so specifically with what you need that the only word for it is miracle. You need to be awake to these things. You need to be paying attention in a way that perhaps you have not been, because you have grown accustomed to waiting for the dramatic, and meanwhile heaven has been trying to work through the subtle. Start paying attention. Start treating the small movements in your life with as much reverence as you would treat the large ones. Because right now, in this season, heaven is working through details, through the small things that add up to something undeniable, through the quiet moments that carry more weight than they appear to. And you need to stop telling yourself that what is coming is too good for you. That is not humility. That is an agreement with the voice that has been working against your destiny. True humility is not the belief that you deserve nothing. True humility is the willingness to acknowledge that what you have received and what you are about to receive is not because of your own sufficiency, but because of the goodness of the God who chose you. Receive it as a gift. Receive it with gratitude. Receive it without the qualification of whether you deserve it, because that is not the framework heaven uses. Heaven gives from love, and love does not withhold on the basis of deserving. Now I must tell you something that will require you to sit with it, to let it settle, to feel the weight of it before you respond. There is something that has been taken from you, not metaphorically, not just in the emotional sense of feeling robbed of time or opportunity. Something specific, something that was meant to pass through your hands, and that was redirected because of people who positioned themselves close to you with intentions that were not aligned with your well-being. I am not going to tell you who they are by name, because that is not how heaven works and it is not what you need. But I will tell you this. You already sense who they are. There is a knowing inside of you that has been present for longer than you have been comfortable admitting. A quiet alarm that goes off when certain people are around. A subtle discomfort that you have overridden with the desire to see the best in people you care about. That knowing is not paranoia. That knowing is discernment, and discernment is one of the most valuable gifts you carry. The problem is that you have been taught, perhaps by well-meaning voices, perhaps by your own desire for peace, to distrust your discernment when it surfaces about people you are close to, because it feels disloyal to sense something negative about someone you love. It feels like a betrayal to acknowledge that someone in your inner circle might not be who they present themselves to be. But protecting your destiny is not a betrayal. Guarding what has been entrusted to you is not disloyalty. And recognizing that not everyone who is near you belongs in the innermost places of your life is not judgment. It is wisdom. Real love requires wisdom. And sometimes wisdom means creating distance. Not necessarily dramatic, not necessarily confrontational, but intentional distance that protects what has been given to you from those who would diminish or consume it. I am not asking you to become suspicious of everyone. I am asking you to become more honest with yourself about what you already sense. To stop overriding your own inner knowledge in order to keep the peace in relationships that are quietly costing you your peace. Because the relationships that truly belong in your life, the ones that are genuinely connected to your destiny, those relationships can handle your awakening. They can handle you becoming more aware and more boundaried and more intentional. The relationships that cannot handle you standing in your own authority are the ones that were dependent on you not fully standing in it. Let me tell you what the next season of your life is going to look like if you choose to fully receive what is being released right now. There will be a clarity that arrives, a sharpness of mind and spirit that you have not felt in a long time. Decisions that have been foggy will begin to clear. Paths that seemed blocked will begin to open. Conversations that need to happen will find their way to happening. Resources that seemed unavailable will begin to appear. Not all at once in a single dramatic moment, but steadily, in a rhythm that builds momentum over time. You will begin to recognize the difference between what is aligned with your destiny and what is simply familiar. Familiar is not always the same as right. And you will develop the courage to choose what is right even when it means releasing what has been familiar. This is growth. This is the fruit of what this season has been producing in you, even when it felt like nothing was growing at all. Sometimes the most significant growth happens underground, in the dark, in the unseen places, before it ever appears above the surface. And you have been growing in those hidden places for longer than you know. The wisdom you have developed through suffering is not wasted. The patience you have cultivated through waiting is not without purpose. The compassion you have deepened through your own pain is not just a wound that healed. It is a gift that makes you capable of carrying what is coming. Because what is coming is not just for your personal comfort. What is coming is designed to flow through you. Your blessing is not a destination. It is a channel. And the wider your life becomes, the more that can move through it to reach others who are still in the places you are leaving behind. Think about the people you will be able to help once you are standing in the fullness of what is coming. Think about the conversations you will be able to have from a place of genuine experience, genuine authority, genuine testimony. Not talking about what might be possible, but what has actually happened in your life. That kind of voice carries a weight that cannot be manufactured. That kind of story opens doors in other people that nothing else can open. And you are being positioned to carry that kind of story. Not because your suffering was good, but because God is taking what was hard and making it holy, taking what was painful and making it purposeful, taking what nearly broke you and turning it into the very thing that allows you to help hold someone else together. This is the full picture of what is moving toward you. Not just financial restoration, though that is real and it is coming. Not just relational healing, though that too is part of what has been prepared, but a complete repositioning of your life in every dimension. A shift that touches your health, your peace, your sense of identity, your understanding of your own worth, your ability to recognize and receive love, your capacity to dream again without immediately defending yourself against hope. You have been defending yourself against hope for a while now. And I understand why. Because hope, in your experience, has sometimes led to disappointment. And disappointment at a certain depth of pain teaches you to be careful, teaches you to hold back a little, to not let yourself want too much, to keep one hand ready to manage the letdown. And while that has been a form of self-protection, it has also been a form of self-limitation. Because you cannot fully receive what you are not fully open to. And you cannot be fully open to what you are only half willing to hope for. So today I am asking you to do something that might feel risky. I am asking you to hope fully, not recklessly, not naively, but completely, with both hands, with your whole heart, with the willingness to be completely wrong about everything if you are wrong because the alternative of holding back and protecting yourself, and receiving only half of what was meant for you because you were afraid to reach for all of it, that alternative costs more than you want to spend. Risk hoping. Risk believing that what is coming is as significant as I am telling you it is. Risk receiving it fully when it arrives rather than holding it at a careful distance. Because this is your moment. This is the moment that was written about in your story long before you arrived in it, and you deserve to be fully present for it. My beloved, I want you to think about how far you have come, not just in years but in depth. The person you are today has been shaped by every experience you have lived through, including the ones that should have broken you but somehow did not. You have more strength than you recognize. You have more capacity than you have ever been given credit for. You have more wisdom than you have been given space to express. And all of that, every bit of it, has been preparing you for this season. The people who underestimated you did not do you a favor, but God used their underestimation to keep you hidden long enough to become what you needed to become before being exposed to what is coming. If certain opportunities had arrived before you were ready, they would have overwhelmed you. If certain connections had been made at an earlier season, they would have drawn you toward things that were not aligned with your actual destiny. The timing, even when it felt like abandonment, even when it felt like punishment, the timing was protection. And now the timing is right. Now you are ready. And now what has been held in reserve is being released. Heaven is not slow. Heaven is precise. And the precision of this moment, the specific convergence of your readiness and the divine opportunity that is being aligned for you right now, this is not something that happens often. This is rare. And rare things deserve your full attention and your full response. So I am asking you one more time, with all of the urgency and all of the love that I am permitted to carry to you, do not walk away from this. Do not let the enemy use distraction or doubt or the noise of ordinary life to pull you back from the threshold of what is already yours. You have prayed for this. You have believed for this, even when believing was hard. You have held on through seasons when holding on seemed unreasonable, and now heaven is saying you held on long enough. Now let go of the holding and open your hands to receive. Your story is not over. It is not winding down. It is not settling into a lesser version of what it was supposed to be. Your story is about to take a turn that will make everything that came before it make sense. Every piece of the journey, the painful ones, the confusing ones, the ones that seemed pointless, they are all going to reveal themselves as necessary chapters in the story that is about to unfold. And what unfolds from here, if you choose to receive it, will be more than you planned, more than you hoped for in your most optimistic moments, more than you thought you were allowed to want. You are allowed to want it. You are allowed to receive it. You are allowed to step fully into what was always intended for your life without apology and without guilt, and without looking back at the seasons of lack as though they were more real than the season of abundance that is beginning right now. My child, my beloved, I need you to do one thing as this message closes. I need you to make a declaration not with your mouth but with your decision. Decide right now that you are receiving this. Decide that you are not going to scroll away and forget this and return to the familiar pattern of waiting without expectation. Decide that something has shifted in you today, not because of the words themselves, but because of what the words have uncovered in you. The faith that was already there, the hope that was still there underneath the disappointment, the belief that somehow, someway, your turn was coming. Your turn is here. And I, Archangel Michael, have been sent to stand at the entrance of this new season and tell you that you are welcome here, that this is not a mistake, that your name belongs on what is waiting on the other side of this moment, that what was prepared for you is ready, and that all that remains is for you to walk through. Walk through, my beloved. Do not hesitate at the threshold. Do not look back at what you are leaving. Do not let the familiar pull of the old season keep you from entering the new one. What is ahead is worth every uncertain step it takes to get there, and you will not be walking alone. Heaven walks with you. The angels assigned to your name walk with you. The faithfulness of God, which has never actually left you even in the moments it felt most absent, that faithfulness walks with you. You are not the same person you were when this message began. Something has moved in you. Something has been activated that was waiting for this exact combination of truth and timing and divine intention. And what moves from here, what unfolds from this moment forward, will be the evidence that this was real, that this was not just words, that heaven actually spoke, that you actually listened, and that listening, that decision to stay and receive and believe made all the difference. Your future is not behind you. It is ahead of you, closer than it has ever been, brighter than you have allowed yourself to imagine, and more certain than anything the enemy has whispered to make you doubt. Walk toward it. Walk with your whole heart. Walk knowing that what was written for you in heaven is already done, and what remains is only for it to fully manifest in your waking life. And it will, because you are chosen, because you endured, because your name was spoken in the final breath of a faithful man who made a promise to God, because heaven heard it, because the angels were dispatched, because the file was opened and the blessing was released, and the window is right now and you are standing in it. Receive it, my beloved, receive all of it, every dimension of it, without reservation and without apology. It is yours, it was always yours, and now, finally, it is time.